Hey, Rubes, grab an ice-cold Udapils brewing beer at any Acapulco restaurant all month long. Amazing food and delicious Udapils beer are waiting for you at Acapulco. This is The Fan.
Hey, what's up now? Brother, what's up? This is a big party, man. I can dig it. Right on.
Mother, there's too many of you crying. Brother, there's far too many of you dying.
I think anyone who puckers up their lips and presses it against their boss's buttocks and then smooches is an ass kisser.
I seem to be inept at everything except my work. I'm good at my work. And I confine myself to that. All I want out of life is a 30 share and a 20 rating.
The man's enlarged my mind. He's a poet, warrior in the classic sense. I'm a little man. He's a great man.
Think of it as colors. There's black and there's white. And in between is mostly gray. That's us. Now, gray is a tough color because it's not as simple as black and white. And for the media, certainly not as interesting. But it's who we are.
I just got out of that weight room, man, and I was pounding out those reps and just thinking Dan Barrero's coming up next, and I got it. When I find myself in times of trouble, I seek out Dan Barrero for the guidance, for the light, for the hope, for the perseverance, for the perspective, for the relativity, for the patience, for the tolerance. I'm the luckiest guy in the world that he finally called me back.
Tweet that.
This is your Frost versus Fleck. Can we get an old-fashioned grudge match going here? Leader, Fan Radio Network.
Excuse me?
And KFAN.com. 2 minutes, 32 seconds past 3 o'clock Central Daylight Time. Welcome back. Bumper to Bumper is live, local. It's on the air, and it starts right now. 3-hour tour today. We were out at 6 because of a Vikings program called The Audible. More on that later. We'll give you the Borton Volvo guest lineup later as well, and we thank you for your participation in today's broadcast. There might even be some giveaways for us to discuss today as well. Guardsy will let me know if there's anything in that box. He has a box, and he opens it up every once in a while, and inside that box, some of the greatest giveaways in the history of the Bumper to Bumper show.
It's amazing.
He opened it yesterday, and look at a pair of tickets to see the Stones.
Wow.
And a pair of tickets to see the Minnesota Wild in their home opener. I don't know if he's opened the box yet today. Once he does,
I'm opening it.
We'll pass it along, all the vital and crucial, pertinent information along to you as well. Delighted you chose to join us. Rather chilly fall-like, I guess we could say. Crisp weather, seasonable, a little on the cloudy side as well. Although somebody told me it's going to be as high as 72 degrees next Monday. That's what the weather terrorists are projecting. 72 on Monday, which seems high for this time of year, does it not?
Late October?
Yeah.
Mid to late October?
Happens, but unusual. Can we get this thing going with PJ and Frost?
What does that mean?
Well, here's what it means. I sense, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, I sense a little bit of a college football malaise right now for your favorite program. Not necessarily because they've been awful, although they did have an awful loss. They did win their most recent Big Ten game. Not exactly state-of-the-art football either way, but you line them up, you play it, you win. And I'm trying to figure out whether something can be manufactured. If either, maybe it's impossible. Maybe neither of these teams are good enough to where people are going to notice. I'm trying to sell tickets. I'm trying to be the Golden Gopher carnival barker because I kind of get the feeling like, okay, cute club, and yeah, we're going to pay attention to them, and it's PJ still, and we kind of like where we think it's been going, but I don't know. I mean, we got pounded in the second half by Ohio State, maybe as should have been expected, and then we had the destruction of Colorado, but then we turned around and found a way to lay an egg against Bowling Green, and so we got our top 2 running backs out now, so now we're down to our third string running back. According to Star Tribune guy, I think the last 2 weeks have completed like 7 passes, which doesn't exactly suggest that we can become Air Coryell even if we need to. Although it was interesting to hear Glenn Mason, a meat and potatoes running-oriented head coach, say he believes the Gophers will be best served becoming more of a passing team. He didn't mean I don't think they should throw 60 times, but I expected the meat and potatoes answer. You are what you are. Next running back up. And the next one up might not be as good as the others, but you count on your offensive line and you just kind of plow forward. And he kind of said, well, I think you might have to mix it up a little bit. So on the basis of the alleged bad blood between these two, can we sensationalize it? Can we stir up some stuff where there might be some extra eyes who want to watch or listen on the fan when the Gophers host the Nebraska Cornhuskers just before about 11 o'clock on Saturday, where you will be?
My guy, Hobie Artigue, on Fox 9 this week on the PJ Flex show, I think tried to do just that, Dan. It was earlier this summer at Big Ten Football Media Days.
That's what I'm looking at.
When Scott Frost said, we don't do a lot of sloganeering.
Here's the exact quote.
You got it in front of you?
I've got it in front of me. And this is via a Randy Johnson story, StarTribune.com. It might be in tomorrow's paper, but you can get to a lot of it early if you get online. This was, as you say, Big Ten Media Days in July. And I don't know the context for this. Frankly, I hope we're taking it out of context because it's too juicy of a quote. So I don't want to know that there's a real context to it because I want to ramp this thing up. I'm bored right now. The Vikings are boring me right now. I know they won. They found a way to win, but they're playing a boring team in Carolina, and then we got the bye. So I'm trying to sink my teeth into something. I know hockey season for the Wild starts tomorrow night. Maybe that can be it.
Yep.
Wolves right around the corner. And as most of us know now, the biggest challenge for Chris Finch right now is figuring out a way to play 12 players every night. And risking alienating great players if he doesn't. That seems to be the biggest. There's not a deeper team in basketball right now. Anyway, here's the exact quote. I'm not into sloganeering.
Why not?
If the players need me to motivate them all the time or come up with a unique slogan to play harder, I probably don't have the right players.
That's all I have to say.
Now, did Frost speak before or after PJ during Big Ten Media Days? Do you know?
I can't recall off the top of my head.
Trying to figure out if PJ had a chance to respond, or has PJ responded this week?
I mean, he answered Hobie's question because Hobie asked him.
Oh, he asked it directly.
He said, hey, is there kind of a rivalry here?
Yeah.
And, there was a thing this summer about sloganeering.
Yes.
And PJ said he didn't really address the sloganeering thing.
Right.
He said everybody's got to run their program the way they want to run their program. He's got to do it that way, and Scott's got to do it his way.
No, that's not going to get it done, PJ. Come on.
You want more meat?
Well, yeah. I'm going to say, I wish he'd had the cojones to say who he was talking about.
Say it to my face?
Say it to me.
Yeah.
Say you're talking about PJ.
Say what?
I mean, we got to ramp this thing up. Now, again, the problem both teams might have and both coaches might have is, how much swagger can we reveal or show at this point? Because Nebraska, again, you look at their record and you say disaster, but in all honesty, and even the way they've lost some games, you say same old Nebraska, but they have competitively played, if you want to go down that moral victory road, a number of teams thus far, right? Ranked teams, I might add.
Yep, Oklahoma, Michigan State, Michigan most recently.
But nevertheless, I assume he's still under fire there. Somebody nationally had the record that I think in the last 4 or 5 years, Nebraska and Frost have lost more one-score games than anybody in college football. So if you're in that mode, I guess what I'm asking, did anybody ask Frost this week to double down on what he said then back in Lincoln?
I haven't seen that, and if it had happened, I would have seen it. But I have not seen that. So, there's not a lot of juice there.
These guys, that's right.
But you have FOMO because of the Ferentz and James Franklin back and forth.
A little bit, yeah.
Because that thing is knives out.
Here's where I'm a fraud, probably. If both coaches had started going down that road of back and forth, I probably would have ripped them and said, man, is either team done enough for you to get all that cocky about anything?
Funny how that works.
I admit that I want it both ways. But right now, Thursday, I'm saying I want something to grab onto here. And so what harm would it really do? So PJ went high road. Man. And that's sort of the, I guess you could say, the cliched, expected, I'm not going to go there answer. He's got to do it his way.
Yep.
I got to do it my way. And Frost, as far as we can tell, I assume we would have heard about it. If he said, damn right, that's what I said. And I was talking about PJ.
And I know you don't want to know the context of how he was asked about it.
No.
So I'm not going to tell you the context of how he was asked about it.
Will that water it down?
Yeah, it'll make it'll dilute it even more.
Oh.
It'll dilute the steam even more.
Oh.
Yeah.
Don't you think we need a little something, a little extra juice going into this thing?
I think so. I think it'd be helpful.
It would be nice. It'd be fun. Let's make it fun.
Now, typically, the juice from this quote-unquote rivalry comes from the fan bases, mostly the Nebraska fan bases. And I was talking to Jeremiah Searles for the pregame show, former Viking, former Husker, who's been on like every KFAN show this week because he used to be on the Power Trip.
Right.
PA used to know him. I'm doing him for the Gopher pregame. And I said, I love your fans because Gopher fans and Minnesota fans in general, they're never hopeful or optimistic or positive. They're always trying to figure out how it can go wrong.
Yes.
Nebraska fans are like the exact opposite, where they've had this sliver of hope where they've played better defense. Martinez has played well. They always think they're one play away from the Scott Frost teams, Lawrence Phillips, national championship, Eric Crouch, all of that. There are people down in Lincoln and Omaha basically saying, like, spread's a little thin for the Huskers. This is going to be a 2-touchdown ball game in Minnesota. We're going to go up there and do whatever we want to the Gophers. That's what I love about Nebraska fans. They're endlessly romantic and hopelessly romantic about their squad.
I don't know. Maybe that's how we get it going. I'm not sure. Who's favored in this game?
The Nebraska Cornhuskers.
By?
Last I saw it was 3.
Okay.
3 or 4.
They are 3-4, but their losses to Oklahoma, ranked, I think, now number 4, Michigan, number 8, and Michigan State, number 10, are by a combined 13 points, which would seem to indicate they're not getting blown out in those games. The problem, of course, is what hurt them is, we all know what hurt the Gophers in terms of getting juice going and voltage. It was laying an egg against Bowling Green. Nebraska started that while we started our Big Ten season getting routed in the second half after a great first half. At least we could say it was against the Buckeyes. They lost their Big Ten opener against Lavelle E. Neal III's Fighting Illini. Have the Illini won since?
I don't know if they have.
Not much.
No, not much.
Maybe one. And so that set a bad tone early. They lost to Illinois.
Illinois followed up that victory, by the way, by losing to Texas San Antonio at home the next week.
Think about it.
Yeah.
Think about it. So Martinez has been there, is this year 8 or 9?
Forever.
Been there
running
long.
the ball.
Is this his last year? Can we even confirm that?
I don't know.
So do they run or throw? He runs. He does both, but he runs. He's got good running numbers himself, does he not?
And that's kind of what they have unlocked this year more than in years past.
Okay.
Is his running, and he's probably got the best receiving options he's had in a couple of years there.
Yeah. Well,
a couple of good tight ends, a couple of good wide receivers.
Maybe it's too late. I just wish there would have been, I didn't know that Hobie, I give him credit for at least trying and asking. But, man, PJ, I'm disappointed, man. I just felt like a little extra boost wouldn't have been the worst thing. And it's Nebraska. I mean, I'm not asking you to insult University of Alabama in their prime or even Ohio State. It's the Cornhuskers. But dream denied, because it's already, I mean, how many other opportunities is he going to have to talk? Is he done talking for the week?
PJ?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's over. Yeah, it's over. You know what else hurts?
What's that?
These games, since these coaches both got here, have not been necessarily thrillers. Like Nebraska crushed them down there in 2018. The game Annixter got hurt and Morgan came in.
Right.
2 years in a row, the Gophers, I guess, was it 2 years? The Gophers won there last year. It wasn't like a crush, but it wasn't like a super close game. They pretty much controlled it. 2019, the Gophers crushed Nebraska here. Like, there haven't been like those defining moments within a bunch of games. They've just kind of been weird games. So that hurts too.
It doesn't help. All that doesn't help either. But, man, what an opportunity for PJ. Man, just sitting there. Because you knew, I mean, the quote was going to be dragged up, and there it is. StarTribune.com, where you might expect it. Here we go. And he swung and missed on it. PJ swung and missed. I'm very
Hey, Rubes, grab an ice-cold Udapils brewing beer at any Acapulco restaurant all month long. Amazing food and delicious Udapils beer are waiting for you at Acapulco.
Toomgas get it. Life is hard. Not everyone can be Toomgas, but everyone can drink AM/PM fresh brewed coffee. It's organic, hot, and from Honduran rainforest. Whether today you work or move to Honduras and grow AM/PM coffee, grab one as a little treat because you deserve it. And grab a second one too. Toomgas also deserve.
Reward yourself with organic medium roast coffee from Honduras. AM/PM, too much good stuff. At participating locations while supplies last.
And the Fan.
Tune in to hear Lil B on the Common Man program every Friday afternoon. Plus, register to win a $50 Casey's General Store gift card during program password. Just use the hashtag program password on Twitter. That's your chance to win.
I said it before, I'll say it again. And I was accused of being a Gopher homer in suggesting it. The Minnesota football schedule, college football schedule, affords them the opportunity to put together a 5-game winning streak. That's, I think, what it shows. They have the opportunity to have a 5-game winning streak going into that last 3 against, is it Indiana? What's the order? Indiana.
Iowa on the road, at Indiana, and Wisconsin at home.
And the Indiana game might not look anywhere near as daunting as it did when the schedule came out on the basis of where that team has plummeted to. Now, by then, who knows? Maybe they'll be playing for pride. Maybe some stuff will kick in. Bottom line is, that's what the schedule, the way it was set up, we said, tough early, as in the opener, and then a little softer or more inviting in the middle, and then you're going to really, I guess, determine how successful your season is in a real way on the basis of how you finish. You have to get to better than 1-7 against Iowa and Wisconsin in order to take the next PJ step and perhaps get the contract extension. Do you not agree?
Yeah, this is a great opportunity.
Yeah,
it was an opportunity leading into the season. It's still an opportunity now.
Emailer John, I'm sitting here in Omaha. Huskers are really good on defense. Aren't they averaging like 31 or 32 points a game offensively?
Is that what the average
like
is?
30.
Yeah, I have their notes here.
They're hoping to get out to the lead early. I am married into a Husker family here in Omaha. Still love the Gophers. Gophers will have to play a good game early. So do you agree that the key is not letting Nebraska feel too good about itself, or can you just count on Nebraska finding a way to wilt late? Because they have been known to do that. That's what they've done.
And I watched the Michigan game this morning, and they were down early. They were down at halftime. They battled back. They took the lead, gave the lead right back, tied up, and they're basically trying to go down the field for a game-winning field goal.
Yeah.
And Martinez Alexander Madisoned it. Except in this case, he got the first down.
Now, wasn't there some controversy? He thought the play was dead.
Maybe.
He claimed it.
But it wasn't. And either way, hold on to the football,
yeah,
because that was a critical fumble there. I mean, their scoring averages are skewed a little bit because they put 52 up on Fordham and 56 up on Northwestern.
Okay.
But the emailer's right. Defensively is where this Nebraska team is different because the Gophers specifically 2 years ago and last year as well pushed them around and were way more physical and basically did whatever they wanted to on the ground. They're not letting teams do that as much this year. Even Michigan, who's run the ball on everybody, needed to make a couple of throws against the Nebraska defense, which has gotten better.
Here's another quote that got my attention in this same story from your guy. When you have a constantly revolving door of playmakers, at least on offense, it's really hard to get that consistency at times. Boy, that's inspirational. Where's the bravado? Where is that, to me, I read that as, hey, if we lose and can't score much, struggle against that defense, shouldn't be surprised. I mean, what kind of message is that to send? I thought he was Mr. Positive.
I think
What's going on here?
That was in response to the question of why have there been struggles.
You think it's
not that here's the struggles that are coming?
Okay.
No, I just think he was answering it.
Well, yeah, but I mean, yeah, he can answer it any way he wants to, but I mean, man, boy. The injuries are real. I grant you that point, but everybody's got them. What are the odds? 0 to 10. 0 being no chance, 10 obviously being a lock cinch, a certainty. What number do you assign to the Gophers concluding, like Glenn Mason, that even if we're not totally comfortable doing it, we're going to have to throw a lot more than we would have if we would have gone in with one of our top 2 running backs?
I'm going to say coupled with Nebraska's run defense, I'm going to say 6.
Okay. So out of necessity, in this case, they may say...
Well, both. I mean, what the uncertainty with their own running backs, the fact that they should be at relative full strength with wide receivers, with Chris Ottman-Bell, played against
goes out
Purdue.
after the first series again.
I know, and he was banged up against Purdue, it looked like, too. Dalen Wright, who missed the game for personal reasons, is back. I think they're gonna throw more than maybe we even thought. Now, again, it's not gonna be 40 times, but I think they know that they have to throw it a lot more. And given Trey Potts is no longer with them, for the rest of the year, they gotta shift again a little bit.
Yeah, I would say even if you don't want to, even if maybe deep down part of the reason they haven't thrown more is maybe they don't have quite as much confidence as we like to think they do in the passing game. At some point you go, what do we got left at this point? I mean, you can't keep going down. You can't keep, going one further down the rung of your running backs, even if you like the kids, and say, well, it's going to be the same. We're going to be able to just plug in another guy, and he's going to go for 142 yards. It's just not very likely. May not work, but to me, it's the old, I'm much more willing to roll the dice, frankly, if I don't feel like I have much of a choice. Then you say, what's the worst that could happen? We don't throw well, and we lose the game, right?
Well, to that emailer's point about getting a lead on the Gophers, that's what every team wants to do because of how the Gophers are built.
Right.
Every team wants a lead, of course, unless it's the Kevin Gore two goal lead. Everybody wants the lead, but specifically for the Gophers because they haven't necessarily shown that they can just, if they need to, because the Gophers want to play it a certain way, always. They want to run the clock. They want to run the ball. They want to control the ball. And they did that against Purdue again a little bit, and so I believe that Nebraska wants to play the game on their terms as opposed to what's happened the last couple of years.
The Borton Volvo scorecard includes Big Knocker Bill Maurice at 5:15, the inbox at 4:30, and when we come back, let's talk some pro football. Sean Salisbury on the purple, and a lot of other good NFL stuff next.
Time now for the Vikings Report on The Fan, presented by Coors Light, Mountain Cold Refreshment, keeping Minnesota chill. Vikings defensive coordinator Andre Patterson joins Barrero next, after this from Coors.
Tungus get it. Life is hard. Not everyone can be Tungus, but everyone can drink AM/PM fresh brewed coffee. It's organic, hot, and from Honduran rainforest. Whether today you work or move to Honduras and grow AM/PM coffee, grab one as a little treat, because you deserve it. And grab a second one, too. Tungus also deserve.
Reward yourself with organic medium roast coffee from Honduras. AM/PM, too much good stuff. At participating locations while supplies last.
We could all use a real vacation right about now. Lucky for us, Princess Cruises has a port right here in LA. Starting at $89 per day, Princess can take you to the beaches of Mexico, the tropics of Hawaii, or along the California coast. That's right, just $89 per day. Set sail with LA's cruise line. Call 1-800-PRINCESS, visit princess.com, or contact your travel advisor. Terms and restrictions apply. Promotional pricing ends November 30th, 2021. Ships are Bermudan and British registry. Before booking, consult the CDC website at www.cdc.gov.
We're fan.
Sean Salisbury, kind enough to join us. He is on the Connecticut Water Systems Hotline, now a regular contributor to the program during this football season. And as we welcome you back, let me try this toss-up question before we get into some specifics regarding the Purple and some of the games this weekend as well. What would you say is the single greatest difference between pro football, the pro football that you were a part of as a player, as an NFL quarterback, and the pro football that exists that we see today?
Probably the fact that you could win a championship back in the time that I played, even though there was great quarterbacks like, Elway and Marino and Montana and Moon. You could line up the Jim McMahons, who was a winner, like in Chicago in '85, but it wasn't so quarterback centric. You could run the football and play defense and win on a consistent basis. You did not have to have, Marino may be the best pure passer of all time, and never won one. Nowadays, you cannot win a Super Bowl. It would be when I say can't, that's probably not right, but the outlier is
right.
The outlier is you have to have a great that position, and even if your defense is average, your running game's average. If that guy's great, and you've got a coach that keeps it together, and you're healthy, you can win a Super Bowl. Back then, you could play defense, run the ball, have a efficient quarterback. Now you can have an efficient defense, kind of run the ball a little, and you have to have a week in and week out monster at quarterback that if you take a week off, the other team will beat you because he's usually pretty good too. And that's saying something, because I thought it was the golden age of quarterbacks then. It's the golden age of putting the ball in the quarterback's hand no matter what as often as possible.
Interesting. And is that a function of that you believe there is greater talent at the position than we've ever seen, or that coupled with obviously a period of rules changes that have made it more and more inviting for teams to try to throw?
I've always tried to think, well, what would a guy like Marino do now? I'm not saying these guys aren't good, and it's how we use it. We use the passing game as an extension of the run 10 times a game. Look at Kansas City, for instance. They run it okay. Their defense is okay. I'm talking about when they win their Super Bowls and they are dominant. Back then, Elway, as good as John was, get to Super Bowls, and then they finally won it when Terrell Davis was there with him twice. And I'm not saying, look at Troy Aikman, threw 24, 25, 26 times a game. Emmett, Michael Irvin played defense, offensive line, ran the ball was the focus of it. So I think it's rules, Dan. I think it is the way that these young, we used to, old school play callers could not. Can you imagine being the Miami Dolphins or being now the Kansas City Chiefs and Bob Greasy, and you throw it like 14 and 11 times in a Super Bowl? That's a quarter. They throw it a quarter. So it would be the aberration where somebody lines up and they say, man, they won the Super Bowl. Now you say, well, what about San Francisco? Well, when Jimmy Garoppolo, great defense, ran the hell out of the football. Garoppolo that year threw over 30 or a little over 30 touchdowns, protected the ball, and they're in the Super Bowl. And guess how they lost? He was 3 of 11 or 2 of 11 in the fourth quarter, and they had the lead. So, and who won? The dynamic quarterback. So, can it happen? Yes, and I don't know if they're more talented, Dan. I don't know, because there's nobody can tell me that Marino and Montana wouldn't be. It is how we play call and the way we use. And instead of just curl, flat, check down combination or that. And even some of the stuff Brian Billick started to do and what we were doing and spreading out and doing a little more. Now that's commonplace on first down. You get in the gun at the goal line. We would have never done that. We were under center, handing the ball off, or a quick play action and throwing it. I mean, it's the way they call plays too, knowing that we don't wake up in the morning and say, hey, you know what? Although defenses want to stop the run on the draft day, people don't wake up and say, man, how can we dominate teams in the run? If you go get clinicked by a coach or go sit in a college room or a high school room, they say, where's that dynamic quarterback and how can we spread the field, extend the field, and play in space? And where's that speed coming from? So I just think it's the way we do it. And, of course, the rules, every rule we have is set up for the offense to succeed.
Yeah, I want to talk about one of those rules in a minute to follow up on your point. One of the other things that has changed, I believe, and maybe just out of necessity, is and I know there was a time when anytime there'd be a running quarterback or a quarterback who had the legs to run effectively, would try to do that too much, it's going to catch up with you, man. You can't do it. You're going to get killed. It doesn't work. And I almost sense that in recent years, there's been a change in that thinking, that it's no. Some of these guys, it's so much of an advantage for us that we have to give them the license to do that, even though eventually you got to make throws. Any of these guys have to make throws, clearly, to go all the way. But it almost feels to me there's been a shift. That old finger wagging of you're gonna get your quarterback killed if you're running around too much. I don't hear it as much anymore. Do you?
No, Dan, this is a fascinating topic. I friggin' love this. I'm so glad we're talking about this. And one last point that'll lead into what we're talking about, what you just asked, is when I was coming out and playing, with football, basketball, baseball, I went to baseball camp at Arizona State. I would go to basketball camp, travel around, and go to the Superstars camp that you're invited to. Do you know I never took a quarterback lesson or went to a football camp in my life?
Really?
Not one. I had never had one. My quarterback lesson was throwing with my high school coach when we at camp with my buddies, and I bet you Elway, the Marinos, the quarterback, the number of reps in 7-on-7 helps. So that just advances this conversation. That's another one to your previous question. This one is, if you have a coach now that says we got to, and I train these guys all over the country. When it used to be just maybe 5 to 10 years ago, when somebody'd come to you and say he's a dual threat quarterback, you know what we'd say, and I'd say, and people'd say in the conversation is, "Oh, you're telling me he can run, but he can't throw."
Yeah.
That was dual threat was the way of trying to be kind to a guy who
Right.
couldn't throw, but he could run. Well, we say it now, and we got 6'6" guys like Herbert and 6'5" guys like Allen. We've got 5'10" guys that can rip it and run like Murray. We've got Lamar Jackson, who I think right now, in my opinion, is I'm not sure. There's guys in the category. I didn't say the best quarterback. He's the most dynamic football player in the world, and he is the most difficult player to game plan for by defensive coordinators going into a week. Now, the outlier, if you run into a Brady, it used to be that guy. Randall Cunningham was great. Steve Young could do both.
Yes.
And then Michael Vick came along. We got a lot of Michael Vicks now. And these guys will complete 70% our man Steve Young's. They'll complete 70%. They're bigger than Steve Young. They run just as fast. They can throw it for 70%. And you've got to defend 52 and a third or whatever, 52 and 2/3 wide, 100 yards of north and south. And you're right. Coaches will get fired now for not doing it. And you are putting your offense at a disadvantage by not utilizing it. We don't hear, well, let's not utilize his legs.
Yep.
Now, you still don't want him to take the hits. Understand, like Russell Wilson is as good as I've ever seen it. Finding a pocket out of the pocket, meaning when he's running and seeing it, getting 15 yards and getting down and not taking that vicious hit. But we got guys now. Cam did it. Lamar Jackson. Look at Trey Lance. You stick him into his first start, he carries it like 16 times. And throws it, has got a big arm. We talk about it. He's like the 5-tool baseball guy. That's how we treat it. Now, I'll say this, Dan, is that we are almost treating quarterbacks like we do running backs. We used to say shelf life. Oh, well, Derrick Henry or, this guy is Jamal Lewis or the power. We got him for about 6 to 8 years. So let's That's it, and we got to look for another one. Now it's, well, here's this quarterback. He can throw and move. Can he extend the play? Well, not real good. Give me the guy who can. The outlier, the exception now is Brady,
yep.
Mac Jones a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
Marino. That would be the exception. The norm now is, can you sit in the pocket? Can you deliver it from there? But when it breaks down, extend plays. Now, we've had guys that have been able to do it, but it's the depth of these guys. When I'm looking at a guy now, if I'm defending or I'm talking to a coordinator, what do you got to have a problem with? Well, if that guy can throw it, but boy, if he can extend the play and I got him at 3rd and 9 and sack him and then he runs around. Look at the game Lamar was in this week, and by the end of the game, the defense, on the comeback, they were so exhausted they couldn't keep up with him. I mean, they were done. Even though they had a big lead, the Colts, they were finished. Big lead. By the time it was over, Lamar Jackson had beat them into the ground with his running and throwing. And this week he just happened to throw for 440 or whatever it is. The next week he'll run for 160. We expect him to run for 1,000 yards and throw for 4,000 yards. That's what we expect now. So it's changed, Dan. It's so difficult to defend. It's no longer just kind of, that's the guy you're trying to find.
Fascinating subject. By the way, can we extend you through a break here? I got a lot more I want to get to on this subject. How's your schedule?
Yeah, go ahead. Let me move. I got one at 4, but I'll see if I can move him to 4:15.
Are you sure? I don't want to, because I'm throwing this to you at the last minute. This carried further than I originally anticipated, but it's fascinating. And I got another thing about a rule that I want to talk about, and then I want to get in a little bit about the games.
No problem, buddy.
Awesome. I appreciate that. Sean Salisbury helping us out on the Connecticut Water Systems Hotline. We'll extend him to talk a little bit more about this subject and then get to the Vikings as well, his thoughts on last week's game and what the Vikings might expect against Carolina.
In the time before AT&T Fiber Internet.
What are you doing in me dungeon?
It's the only place where the bloody Wi-Fi works.
Oh, and you don't mind the spiders?
Spiders? What spiders? Oh, no, they're everywhere! Oh!
In the time after AT&T Fiber Internet.
It's nice having fast, reliable Wi-Fi in the whole house.
For sure.
The dawn of a better internet era with AT&T Fiber.
Limited availability in select areas. Check eligibility at att.com/getfiber. AT&T Smart Wi-Fi extenders may be required. Sold separately. Restrictions apply.